Hi there, I'm Pastor Mrs. Tolu Temitopeolua. How are you doing today? Brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, elders, worldwide. It is well with you today, according to the will of God in Jesus' name. In this short exhortation, we'll be talking about looking after your children God's way. We're focusing on the emotional aspect today. Indeed, we've been talking about this for the last few weeks. We've looked at the physical, the spiritual, and today we're talking about the emotional aspect of looking after our children God's way. We must not forget that this is not about personal experience, it's not about educational qualification, it's not about psychological assessment or discernment. This is about looking after them according to God's will in what we have read from His Word. So, from the emotional aspect, children must first and foremost understand that their foundation has to be in Christ. Any other foundation will fail them. In the book of Matthew chapter 7, from verses 24 to 27, we see a confirmation of this. Anyone who builds their house on the sand will not last. That's, the message of that parable. And so, emotionally, they must be grounded in Christ. They must be deeply rooted in Him. Only He can make them prosper. Only He can promote them, can guide them, even to fulfillment in their lifetime. This must be established as early as possible. Emotionally, the Lord is the only one that can balance any human being because He created humans. He knows exactly what to do to make things work in the way that they should. It's important that children are taught to be obedient to the Lord Jesus at all times. This will help them prosper. This is what will help them have good success. When they are being asked to do anything that contradicts the Lord's will, they must stand with the will of the living God. It is high level of emotional intelligence that children understand that they are responsible for their actions. They must not put the blame of their actions on society, on people around them. Yes, they may not be able to control what others do, but they have a will and they can control what they choose to do. It is important that children are taught to be responsible in this manner so that they're able to take responsibility for their actions and make the necessary corrections if required, or maintain their stand on that right ground that they are walking on when challenged. Their actions must not be fobbed off as the fault of somebody else in their environment. So did this, that's why I did that. That is not the will of God. So may have done something. You didn't have to do what you did. You can choose to do the will of God, regardless of what those around are doing. This is a lesson that must be taught again as early as possible. It is important to know that it's important for them to know that the way God looks at things, He looks at the individual. What do you do when faced with a certain situation? What do you do when challenged in a certain manner? Another important thing that children must understand emotionally is that not everyone will like them. Adults too must have this understanding. Not everyone will like them, particularly those that are not of their kingdom and that are actively working against their kingdom. So as they're on the playground, they must not expect that everybody will necessarily like them. The glory of God in them may repel some. And they must not dwell on the fact that A does not like them and let that control their lives. They must not allow anybody's assessment, anybody's comment to color how they view themselves and how they view their lives. This is something that has to be dealt with, on a regular basis as required. Having a chat with them, letting them understand their identities in Christ, letting them understand that there are some views that will come when they're out there that will contradict the view of Christ. And they must know that the view of Christ about them is the truth. Anything that is contrary to that must not be allowed to prosper in their hearts. We must prayerfully follow this up even as we discuss with them. They must understand they're soldiers of Christ. Soldiers cannot be loved by everybody during the war or on the war front. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12 tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, and so on. So they're soldiers of Christ. They must not expect that everybody will like them. Behind that is a teaching of profound and unconditional love of God that is shed abroad into their hearts. Let them understand that God loves them. And when He loves them, nothing will be able to stop them from achieving that which He has earmarked for them to achieve, as long as they are obedient to Him. Children will be emotionally balanced and settled when this knowledge is imputed deep into their spirit, souls, and bodies. It will guide their decisions. It will enable them to stand firm in the face of persecution. It will give them that confidence, the self-confidence that is born not out of their own personal strength or achievements, but out of the understanding that they have God on their side. I pray that the strength and the enablement to be able to impute this into your children will be given unto you today, according to God's perfect will, in Jesus' name. Children are the heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is His reward. So says the word of God. We must never forget that we're stewards in this area, a very crucial area, because what we do guides what happens with future generations. Let us take this responsibility with the diligence that the Lord expects us to take it with. Let us ask Him for help. There are moments that the enemy will want to place uncertainties in our hearts regarding what we're doing. When God is our guide, when He's our backbone, when He's our foundation and our strength, we can dispel these doubts. We can dispel this negativity, even as we stand for Christ, with that goal that our children must fulfill His perfect will while they are on the surface of the earth. The goal must be that not only should they fulfill His perfect will, they must have learned enough to be able to impute the same thing into their own children. As we do this, the Lord perfect all that concerns us according to His will in Jesus' name.